Okay, so imagine this. One of the absolute giants of 20th century physics, Wolfgang Pauli. He's on his deathbed.
Right.
And his final conscious thoughts, they aren't about fear or pain, but about a number. A number that, well, it obsessed him his whole life. He called it the code.
And get this, the number on his hospital room door.
It was 137, the very number.
Just unbelievable synchronicity.
It was unbelievable. And, this wasn't just some random number Pauli fixated on. It's the fine structure constant, usually written as 1 over 137.
Discovered way back in 1950.
Yeah, and it weaves together three, really fundamental things. The electron's charge, Planck's constant, quantum stuff, and the speed of light.
So it's basically dictating how light and matter, specifically charged particles, talk to each other, holding atoms together.
That's a great way to put it. It governs that fundamental interaction. But here's the kicker, the thing that makes it so weird and interesting. Unlike, say, the speed of light, which has units, meters per second, this constant alpha, it has no dimensions, none. No units. So it's just a pure number.
A ratio.
Exactly. A pure ratio. A fundamental tuning of the universe, if you like. And because it's dimensionless, it sort of hints, well, it invites this possibility of being a bridge.
A bridge between what? The physical world and...
And maybe the psyche, our inner world. It makes you wonder, is consciousness just something that happens in space-time, or could it be somehow more fundamental, a condition for space-time?
Wow. Okay, so that's what we're diving into today. This extraordinary connection, this intellectual collaboration between Pauli, the physicist obsessed with the 137.
And Carl Jung, the depth psychologist. They teamed up trying to figure out if this code 137 could be a key.
A key to unifying everything, matter and mind, physics and psychology.
That was the grand hope. Could this number of being, as some call it, actually be a kind of tuning fork for consciousness itself?
Let's find out.
Pauli's story, it starts incredibly early. Born 1900, Vienna. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just learning Einstein's relativity.
He was mastering it already. Mastering it. Published his first paper at 18. Just, incredible.
That's staggering. And his mentor, Arnold Sommerfeld, he clearly saw this genius.
Oh, absolutely. Sommerfeld was so blown away, he asked Pauli, who was just 21, to write this massive review article on relativity theory.
And Einstein himself read it.
He did. And Einstein's reaction was, well, effusive. He praised Pauli's profound physical insight, his sureness of mathematical deduction. Imagine getting that feedback from Einstein at 21.
The ultimate validation, surely.
No kidding. And it was actually Sommerfeld, Pauli's mentor, who first stumbled upon this strange number, 11137. He was applying Einstein's relativity ideas to Niels Bohr's model of the atom.
Bohr's model, that's one with electrons in specific orbits, specific energy levels, right?
Exactly. Sommerfeld refined it, brought relativity into it, and boom, out popped this dimensionless constant, 1137.
So it wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It came from looking closely at how atoms actually behave, how they emit light.
Precisely. It governs something called the fine structure of spectral lines. You know how every element has a unique light signature, like a barcode?
Yeah, those lines you see through a spectroscope.
Well, if you zoom way in, those lines aren't single lines. They're actually split into multiple, very closely spaced lines. Tiny splittings.
Okay.
And the amount of that splitting, that separation, it's dictated precisely by alpha, by 1137. It's woven into the electromagnetic fabric of reality.
So it's fundamental, but you can't derive it.
Yeah.
You can't calculate why it's 1137.
Nope. Just like pi, you can't get it from first principles. It just is.
Yeah.
The universe is just built that way. And that mystery, that givenness, it baffled physicists. Still does, really.
It's just there. Wow. But Pauli's biggest contribution, the exclusion principle, that didn't come easily, did it? It sounds like it came out of a real struggle.
Oh, a huge struggle. He wrestled for 2 years with something called the anomalous Zeeman effect. Basically, weird splittings of those spectral lines when atoms were put in a magnetic field. Nothing made sense.
And this professional crisis bled into his personal life.
Big time. His first marriage failed quite dramatically. Apparently his wife left him for a chemist, which Pauli, the physicist, found particularly galling. He was drinking a lot, behaving erratically. It was a real low point.
But then the breakthrough.
Yes. Out of that chaos came this incredible intuition. He proposed this idea of a fourth quantum number for electrons, something nobody had thought of. And the principle.
The famous exclusion principle.
No two electrons in an atom can have the same 4 quantum numbers. They can't be in the exact same state.
Okay, break that down. How does that explain, say, the periodic table?
Yeah.
Why don't all electrons just pile into lowest energy level?
Because they can't. Once a state defined by those four numbers is filled, think spin up in a certain shell, the next electron has to go somewhere else, maybe spin down, or into a higher shell entirely.
So it dictates how atoms are built, layer by layer, why we have shells, why elements behave differently.
Precisely. It underlies all of chemistry, the stability of matter itself. It's absolutely fundamental to quantum physics. You can't really do atomic physics or chemistry beyond a very basic level without it.
Incredible. And then there's the weird story, the Pauli effect.
Ah, yes. The legend. It's this bizarre anecdote that Pauli seemed to, well, break things. Lab equipment would malfunction, sometimes catastrophically, just by him being nearby, or even thinking about the lab.
Seriously, his colleagues actually believed this.
They took it seriously enough to sometimes ban him from their labs. It's like he had this strange, unconscious, disruptive influence on physical systems, long before he ever met Jung, intriguingly.
That hints at something deeper, doesn't it? Almost psychic.
It really does, and it kind of reflects the wider crisis in physics then. This new quantum mechanics, Pauli's principle, Heisenberg's matrices, Schrodinger's waves, uncertainty, complementarity. It was powerful, but deeply unsettling.
How so?
Because you couldn't visualize it. Newtonian physics, even Einstein's relativity, you could sort of picture clocks and trains and warped space. But quantum mechanics, it was abstract math, probabilities. It defied intuition.
It felt less like physics and more like philosophy.
For many, yes. An enormous, uncomfortable problem, as one physicist put it. And just as his professional world became less visual, more abstract, Pauli's personal life was hitting rock bottom.
Right, the failed marriage, the drinking, his mother's earlier suicide, it all came to a head.
Exactly. Around 1931, he was in a deep crisis. His powerful, rational mind, the one that solved quantum mysteries, was useless for his own life problem.
And that's when he turns to Jung. The ultimate rationalist seeks help from the psychologist of the unconscious.
Precisely. Pauli sought out Carl Jung, who was really developing his core ideas, then complexes, archetypes, psychological types. Pauli told Jung about his problems, but also about these strange, vivid dreams.
Dreams involving Kepler and numbers.
Yes, Johannes Kepler specifically, and the numbers 3 and 4 kept recurring. It was potent stuff.
But Jung didn't treat him directly.
No, and this is fascinating. Jung referred Pauli to a student, Erna Rosenbaum. Not because he wasn't interested, far from it. Jung saw a unique research opportunity.
He wanted to see Pauli's unconscious material raw, untainted by his own direct influence.
Exactly. He wanted to study the dreams of this hyper-rational scientist as objectively as possible.
So Pauli works with Rosenbaum, reads Jung's stuff.
Did it help?
Profoundly. Pauli engaged in deep self-analysis, particularly influenced by Jung's psychological types. He started to integrate. His drinking lessened, his behavior stabilized, he eventually remarried, this time successfully, a marriage that lasted decades. It was a major turning point in his individuation process.
Individuation, Jung's idea of becoming whole.
Becoming who you truly are, integrating all parts of yourself. And Pauli realized something crucial about himself through this.
It was.
He thought he was completely one-sided. He'd overdeveloped his thinking function, his logic, and totally neglected his feeling function, his intuition, his connection to others. So he started to see the value of the non-rational, even in science.
Yes. He realized that even great scientific leaps often didn't come from pure logic. He started citing examples. Kekulé dreaming the structure of benzene as a snake eating its tail. Mendeleev dreaming the periodic table. Einstein's thought experiments, which were highly intuitive.
It suggested that breakthroughs bubble up from somewhere deeper, somewhere.
Right.
Well, maybe irrational.
Exactly. A wellspring beyond pure rationality. And that opened the door for his dialogue with Jung.
So Kepler becomes this key figure, popping up in Pauli's dreams. Why Kepler?
Well, Kepler himself was this amazing bridge figure, a rigorous empirical scientist charting planetary motion, but also someone who explicitly talked about archetypes.
Really? Kepler used that word.
He did. He believed these archetypal patterns were implanted in the human mind by God, and scientific discovery was about finding the correspondence, the resonance between these inner archetypes and the outer patterns of the cosmos.
And this connects to Pauli's dreams of 3 and 4.
Directly. There was this historical debate between Kepler and an alchemist named Robert Fludd. Kepler championed the number 3, the Trinity, the rational masculine principle as the key to the universe.
Okay.
Fludd, on the other hand, championed the number 4, representing the feminine, the anima mundi, or world soul, a more holistic, earthy reality. 4-ness versus 3-ness.
And Pauli had just moved from 3 quantum numbers to 4 in his exclusion principle work, and he's dreaming about 3 and 4.
Precisely. It's like this ancient archetypal argument was playing out again centuries later, both in Pauli's groundbreaking physics and in his unconscious dreams, a deep trans-historical pattern.
Mind-blowing. So Pauli starts thinking physics and psychology need to talk, they need a common language.
Yes, and he proposed this amazing analogy. Think about a radioactive nucleus. It's unstable, high energy, and it decays, spitting out particles unpredictably according to a half-life.
Right, you can't predict when a specific atom will decay.
Exactly. Pauli saw a parallel with Jung's archetype of the self, the deep center of the psyche. He said the self is also like a high-energy nucleus, unpredictably releasing archaic, unconscious material into consciousness, seeking stability, both driven by some unknown inner clock.
Wow. That's a powerful image. Did Jung buy it?
He was fascinated, and actually Pauli's physics insights influenced Jung. Jung began to update his definition of the archetype.
How so?
He started describing the archetype not just as, like, the blueprint for an instinct, but as representing the probability of psychic events.
Probability, like in quantum mechanics.
Exactly, reflecting that probabilistic, a causal aspect of quantum reality that Einstein famously hated. God does not play dice. Jung was incorporating this new physics thinking into his psychological model. It was a two-way street.
Which leads us to synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences.
Yeah, Jung's concept, but refined with Pauli's input. These aren't just random chance events. They're moments where an inner state, a thought, a dream, an emotion coincides meaningfully with an outer event with no obvious causal link. Often feels highly charged, numinous.
Like Pauli dying in room 137.
A potential prime example, it suggests an underlying connection and a causal ordering principle linking mind and matter.
So are we talking about an archetype that exists both inside us and out there, a psychoid archetype?
That's the idea they were exploring, something that bridges the inner and outer. They even drew up this schema of reality. Picture it. A vertical axis and a horizontal one.
Okay.
Vertical axis. At the bottom, maybe, indestructible energy, pure potential, formless. At the top, the space-time continuum where energy takes form, where things happen.
And the horizontal.
Horizontal axis. On one side, causality, cause and effect, the predictable clockwork. On the other side, synchronicity, the causal, meaningful, probabilistic connections.
And these axes intersect. These pairs, energy, space-time, causality, synchronicity, they're opposites, but interacting.
Paradoxical pairs of opposites, constantly interacting, transforming into each other. That's the dynamic picture of reality they were building.
But Pauli wasn't quite satisfied with just abstract ideas like Plato's perfect forms existing somewhere else, right? He wanted to know how the patterns actually manifest in our world.
Exactly. He felt Platonism didn't handle the paradox of opposites well, and didn't explain how these ideal forms collapse or manifest into messy reality. He was looking for a transformation within the system, an automorphism, a way the underlying structure creates the patterns we see.
And crucially, they both agree these archetypes couldn't be outside space-time. They had to be part of the physical world.
Yes, absolutely critical. To truly unify psyche and matter, the archetypes couldn't just be mental concepts. They had to be embedded in reality itself. Otherwise, you fall into what Jung called participation mystique, projecting inner stuff onto the outer world without real integration.
So the unification point, the bridge, where is it?
According to Jung, and Pauli came to agree, the third medium, the place where it all comes together is, well, it's nowhere else but in the psyche of the individual.
In us, in our awareness.
In our awareness. It's through the individual observer, through your consciousness, that the potential unity of idea and matter is actually experienced. We are, as Jung said, stuck in psyche anyway.
Even in physics, right? The observer effect. Measuring something changes it, collapsing the wave function.
Precisely. The act of observation isn't passive. It interacts with reality, turning quantum probabilities into definite outcomes. Consciousness seems to play an active role.
So psyche and matter are like mirror images.
Mirror images reflecting each other. And the language they share, might be number. The archetype of number itself.
Which loops us back to alpha, 11137, the dimensionless constant. What's the really far-out idea here?
Okay, brace yourself. Some of the sources we looked at propose that alpha might literally be the threshold ratio at which energy becomes perception.
Whoa, say that again.
The threshold where raw energy starts to be perceived, starts to become experience. It's called the soul's coupling coefficient.
The soul's coupling coefficient, like how strongly the soul or awareness binds to the world.
Kind of. How tightly awareness orbits symbolic attractors, how intensely we resonate with the patterns around us. It sets the dial for how psyche and world connect.
So the idea is consciousness collapses waveform into light,
Light collapses into geometry.
and geometry collapses into self-awareness.
That's the chain proposed. And the implication is profound. You, the listener, you aren't just the observer of the number, you're part of the field. You are the resonance through which the universe observes itself.
But Pauli, even after all this deep thinking, he felt he'd hit a limit with just intellect, didn't he?
He did. He reached a point where he felt his own individuation, his own journey to wholeness, couldn't go further through intellectual understanding alone. He needed something else.
The fourth element, which was
Human relationship. Connection. He realized he was profoundly lonely despite his scientific success and his later marriage. It's a feeling Jung admitted to sharing. That connection, that feeling function he'd neglected, was key to truly grasping the Unus Mundus.
the one world, the unified reality. So it wasn't just about abstract theories, but about lived experience and connection.
Absolutely. And Pauli remained optimistic. He actually predicted that future breakthroughs, maybe in biochemistry, would reveal new laws of life.
Laws that might connect back to these ideas, to number, archetypes, the psyche-matter link.
That was his hope. He saw it as another avenue, maybe through understanding life at the molecular level, to get closer to that unified picture. It's a question still very much alive today.
And then, the end. Room 137, the ultimate synchronicity.
It's almost too perfect, isn't it? The number of his room, 137, being the reciprocal of the constant that defined his quest, 11137.
Does it symbolize something, a transition?
One interpretation is that transition from one opposite to another, from the fraction, representing perhaps the complexities of life in space-time, to the whole number, representing maybe entry into the unified ground, the Unus Mundus. A sacred reception.
If 1137 is the breath between light and matter, as they poetically put it.
Then Pauli and Jung wondered, what's the breath within that breath?
And their answer was,
The moment of metacognition. The instant a human becomes aware of their own awareness.
witnessing your own witnessing.
That inflection point, that's where the soul perhaps truly recognizes itself within the cosmic pattern.
So for you listening, the final thought we want to leave you with comes from this incredible intersection. Consciousness is the breath of life, but maybe that breath isn't just air. Maybe it's awareness itself.
And becoming conscious of consciousness, that metacognitive step, that might be like returning to this fundamental harmonic ratio, feeling the universe breathe through you.
Not just to know the world, but to be known by it, to feel that resonance. This quest Pauli and Jung started, it's unfinished.
Deeply unfinished. The question of how inner and outer reality truly connect remains wide open. And perhaps in your own awareness, you're the one still asking it.